Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here back with another message for you. Hope everyone is doing well. I'm going to cut the deck a few times and just jump right into it. All right, happy Wednesday. Yes. Today is the 27th. We are, I believe the full moon coming up is on the 29th. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure. So begin to prepare yourself by way of the energies that you feel most connected to do so regarding full moon vibrations, cleansing, resting, sewing up any last of your affirmations or actions toward your affirmations. Not to say everything stops when we have a full moon, but if you know, you know. You know that sometimes when the full moon energy hits, it's not, even though I believe it is in Aries. So I haven't really dug into the transit quite yet because I'm not ready to give that message yet, one download at a time. But I do believe that it is an Aries, which is a power forward type of energy. So it'll be interesting to see how those elements contrast with it being a cardinal power forward with a full moon, which usually incites rest, rejuvenation, or release. So we'll see how that plays out. But anyway, here we are. Let's see what the message is for today. I'm gonna turn over. Interesting. I'm not taking this out the deck because we were here yesterday and I'm not not returning back to that. But this is the bottom of the deck, Seven of Cups. Let me get a little sippy sip. And by the way, my yogi tea bag message of the day is uncage your heart, free your heart, let it be wild. Okay, receive that as you will. So Seven of Cups can be about, it can be so many things. So we'll see how this message plays out. But it can be about illusions, confusions, delusions. It could be having so many choices that you don't really know which one to make, given that many of these choices don't have the appearance of being the most high vibrational. So I'm hearing like choosing the lesser of the evils, you know, which is, I don't ever subscribe to that idea, not holistically. So I know sometimes you may have some choices and one might be just fine enough to go with, but not just, you know, not holistically what you want. But I'm feeling like in this day and age, we shouldn't be having to compromise our satisfaction in that way. There should be some way to ultimately enhance either your perspective of your choices or the options themselves. You know, maybe you need to go somewhere else if this is all the options that you have in the Seven of Cups. Okay, so let's see where it goes. Okay. Magician and the Two of Cups. Definitely some matter of choice and partnership. Perhaps manifest. That's interesting. Because when I said like if these are the best of the choices, then maybe you're in the wrong place. Like maybe you need to go somewhere else. This is manifesting an optimal choice. You know, is it optimal? Optimum choice? One that is truly desirable. You know, it's a matter of, you know, a difference between just because all the cups are love and emotions, right? So it's like you live in an area where, you know, the pickings are slim relationally, right? So you just take the best option of the guy in the neighborhood or the guy that you've met, you know, at your local coffee place that you see every week or on the job even perhaps that you just brush up against every day. And, you grow some type of affinity for them, and it's like, hell, it's better than having no choice, and better than having nobody or being alone, as opposed to really holding out, and in this case manifesting the ideal choice, like someone that really is on your level, that's willing to exchange reciprocally in love and emotional commitment, and it could absolutely be business too with the Two of Cups, and it can even be platonic. The Two of Cups is not exclusive to love, but with the cup energy and it being a man and a woman in exchange, is certainly prominent in that regard, but it can be all those things. So you're manifesting a high vibrational choice here. You're calling it into yourself. You're not willing to accept what's available or what the pickings are presenting to be to you as your only options. You're believing that there's something more that can be holistically satisfying for you specifically. Maybe the choices are good for someone else. There's no disrespect to those options in the Seven of Cups as they are, but for whatever reason, they don't satisfy you. And then we have the Ten of Wands here, which is the end of a burdensome cycle, the end of perhaps you making the wrong choices. Because wands are energy, are energy forces. So maybe it's the end of you choosing in that vibration where you just, ultimately sell yourself short, quite honestly, and you end up taking on the burden of love as opposed to the blessing, where, like, as I've been saying, it's not really much to be desired with what you see day to day or what's available, but with each action that you take to pretty much like sell yourself short, in a matter of speaking, in no disrespectful terms, but just taking an option that you ultimately could do better at or better with. That's what's represented here. Maybe you struck out 10 times in love, or you struck out, let's say in business, like you have tried to get a business, maybe multiple businesses off the ground, and for whatever reason, each and every time it just didn't quite pan out to be what you want it to be. Maybe you've had 10 jobs, maybe you've lived in 10 different places, it could be any amount of experience or any aspect of experience here with the Ten of Wands, but it's about not letting that be a burden on your back as to how you manifest now, like out of the burden of out of the burden or fear of your possibilities, if that makes sense. You're releasing something heavy, something that feels obligatory, or like something that you feel like you're committed to. With the Two of Cups, let's see, let me walk this slow here. With the Two of Cups, sacrificing yourself, as a matter of fact, for the sake of relationship or commitment. That's what's ending here, which is absolutely connected to that Seven of Cups, because like I said, you see what you have, you can do better, but you make the choices that you make anyway. That's self-sacrificial. You're sacrificing your holistic satisfaction and supreme contentment for the sake of like immediate gratification, or just feeling like, this is the best you can do. All right. I don't know where this is going, but let's see. And let me say, it's not that you are, but maybe you have. And I think we all have in some way, because we haven't always known coming out of the womb, what we're absolutely worthy of, and, what we're worthy of, what we're worthy to receive or give, for that matter, which is representative here in the Two of Cups. Queen of Cups here, who definitely does know the value of her love. I'm not feeling all these low vibrational cards on the bottom though right now. That's what's really getting my goat. So we got the the King of Wands, the Emperor, and the Seven of Pentacles. Okay. The Seven of Pentacles definitely gives me a correlation between that Seven of Cups, because like I said, it's like this is almost the action. The Seven of Cups is like the emotion, the perspective, the choices being presented to you. The Seven of Pentacles is like the action of investing in something over and over again. And depending on your perspective, maybe not being as pleased with the outcome or the return on your investment as you believe it should match the work, if that makes sense. Like you put in a lot of energy and effort, but somehow you still perhaps only harvest one pentacle out of 7 times or 6 times that you've sown, maybe in different relationships or different partnerships where you've given a lot of yourself. You've never given up on love, as a matter of fact. You're always willing to try again, but it's not the matter of the quantity of times that you're willing to invest. It's the quality of which you're investing in, and of what you're investing of yourself, as a matter of fact, too. So in both ways, it's about that balanced, equal, fair exchange. And this implies that it hasn't always been fair to the investor, whether that be you, if I'm talking to you and you resonate, or someone else has put a lot of time and energy and effort into, let's say, love, perhaps, in one regard, and it hasn't yielded the greatest results. There's some type of defeated mindset here with the Five of Swords. But let's see here, because we got the King of Wands and then we got the Emperor. So I'm definitely going to call this King of Wands and Emperor as 2 different people or entities, first off. And what I'm going to say is what's in between, because we got action that's taken from a dynamic perspective with the King of Wands. This is somebody that has experience with taking action, being authoritative about his advancement toward a thing, a person, a place, whatever he sets his mind to, pretty much. Whatever he sets his sight upon, he's willing to courageously take action toward it. The Emperor here is giving me some spirit of interference. And it's interference by way of some imposed authority, especially, with this Five of Swords here. It's like an imposed authority that I say that is intentionally skewing the results of this King of Wands, who in his own right, as it is here, is a high vibrational magician. Like I said, he knows how to wield his power when he's left to his own divine devices, if you get me. It's this interference here. Perhaps the Emperor can be a father figure. So consider even some outdated, or is it outdated, or just convoluted is what I hear. It's like whatever the timeline energy may be, it's not valid to his agenda, but for some reason it has either impacted his perspective or imposed itself in the midst of his action, or his ambition. That's what it is. So it's like something that presents itself, or propose, not presents itself, but, what's that word? someone or something, let's put it plainly, right? Consider you got a younger man in the King of Wands, mature but younger, who has a father in his life that he may even value as, as his father, but whom gives advice that is not holistically prosperous and advancing for the king's best interest. Either he has his own agenda here with this five of swords here to almost destroy the potential for this King of Wands to advance in some powerful way, to really operate in the capacity of his manifestation power, his creative power. Ultimately, that's what that's amplifying for the purposes of building positive, prosperous connections and commitment. Either he's doing that intentionally, so like say he goes to his father for advice about a connection, like, Dad, I'm really feeling such and such, he's telling her about this girl. This is very practically speaking, but I'm having a hard time, so I had to bring it down. He's telling them about this girl and how he's really feeling her, whatever, but his father's response is not affirming. It's like, man, you ain't ready to be in no relationship. Like, you're this. You're like bringing them down to a knight's size almost. Like, remember how you was with last girl? Or discouraging him from the hope of investing in relationships in general. Like, women are a headache, man. Like, look at me, take it from me. You don't want to be chained up to somebody, obligated to no relationship. You young, live your life, sow your royal oats. Do your thing, see the world. The King of Wands is definitely an adventurer, an explorer. He's all that. See the world. You don't need to be tied down with no girl. You can have any woman you want all over the world. Why would you want to be with one? You know what I mean? That's never worked out for me. So it's like somebody that, again, in the most practical sense, somebody or something, maybe even some ideal itself, based on either societal experience or impressions, or growing up, how he saw relationships play out positively or negatively, his surroundings, maybe perhaps other people in his life, don't even have to necessarily be a father, but other experiences that he's been exposed to in terms of relationships, somehow work against him in the Five of Swords, or at least try to work against his greatest ambition to actually invest in something that he sees great promise in, maybe perhaps in something that he even manifested in some way, shape, or form, that in some regard, either projecting to him that in the past he has not done well with investing his energy into love. He's been better off investing in money or in material things, or that investment itself just doesn't pay off in the end. Either way, with him looking at the Seven of Pentacles, because this is where this interruption of ambition leaves him in the end. You know what I mean? It's like a demotion from the King of Wands to the Seven of Pentacles. Well, it's not really a demotion, but it kind of deflects his ambitions to starting to look at his possibilities and even his harvest to date. As I said, it's all about perspective, with a side eye, like, man, is it really worth it? Maybe even practically considering, do I even have the money and the time and the energy for a relationship? His passion perhaps may be to be in this committed situation. He might really have a passion for sharing his heart in some regard with some other partner. But given the interference, like I said, whether it be actual interference or whether it just be his own mind that takes control over his ambitions and just practicalizes, this is like mind games almost, in a sense, with the I keep saying Five of Wands. And I'm probably saying that for a reason, because it probably is on account of some competition, if this is a physical force that's interfering, because that Five of Wands is about being competitive and like power tripping almost, which would definitely be in alignment with the Emperor. Either the Emperor, who may be some superior presence in his life, is competing for, just jealous. Even with the Five of Swords, that's what that gives me. Like even a dad, if you can consider that, that's just jealous of the possibility that his son may actually be successful in ways that perhaps he wasn't. And instead of being encouraging and supporting of that shift, you know, that evolving of his son, you know, being happy to see your kids do better than you, he rather diminish it, you know, like almost chop them down to size, knowing that he can probably see his potential more than the king himself, because, you know, usually the people that raised you can in some regard or another. So he rather like beat him down to like, nah, you ain't got what it takes to be in love, or beat the concept itself down to the ground, like, nah, love ain't worth it, just keep getting that money. But in the heart of hearts of the King of Wands, he really is recognizing that perhaps where he did actually chase more of the manifestation in a material sense, which is here with the Magician card, that definitely speaks about material gain or expansion. Where he did that, where he's focused his time building up money, maybe building up a career, maybe acquiring wealth, prosperity, or maybe just, you know, some type of stability for himself in one regard or another, he still finds some lackluster in those accomplishments, that all he's sown is into material return, and so that's all he's gained. He doesn't have anything spiritually satisfying to show for his time and energy, you know. So although it may have been a prominent pursuit before, a prosperous pursuit before, to focus on the money, on the bag, now he's not really as content with being committed, you know, exclusively to that anymore. So let's see. Okay, so what you going to do about it? Hold on. High Priestess. Something secretive, something under the surface, behind the veil. Let's see. Yeah, and that was that Five of Wands, like I said, peeking out. Yeah, it could potentially be a shady character here. Yeah, and then the Page of Swords. And this is, okay, so is this him? Is this him? Well, that High Priestess was there, which to me, like I said, is about something secret, something behind the veil, someone that has an agenda outside of his knowing, or unbeknownst to him perhaps until now, because I'm seeing this Eight of Wands card as like some new intel that's been coming in regards to how he can, or how he gets to increase the very thing that he was looking to expand in, which is wealth, you know, but to have it holistically, not just little coins, you know, a little drop here and there. Whereas it's not only dissatisfying, because it's giving me that even the money that he has acquired on account of investing all of his energy into material gain is not even is not really balancing out. You know, for all that he's invested, he's expected to even see more of a return than that. But I'm getting that it's because it's on account of there being a mismatch of, and like a, how do you say it? Like not a mismatch, but like his ambitions, especially on account of this interference, have been inverted. That's what I'm trying to say, like an inversion of his pursuits and his ambition, because when you're chasing money, what you really would fare better to do is to chase love. They are one and the same, but the money aspect of it all is fleeting. And as we know, just not, I mean, we love money, don't get me wrong, but not as spiritually satisfying as when you have love, even when you're embodying it within yourself. You can manifest love, self-love, worthiness, appreciation from the inside. That is the force that is attracting the material return and reward. It doesn't really happen the other way, because as long as you're looking to measure yourself by what you can sensationalize, what you can see and touch and smell and taste and hear, to be quite extensive about it, ultimately just money. When you are measured, or even by your car and your position in a company, because that could also be that too, like elevating yourself to some level of accomplishments by way of position of power, whether it be corporately, creatively, however the case may be. But when the outside is what you allow to tell you who you are on the inside, it'll always be a mismatch. It'll always be imbalanced and quite unsatisfying to the senses, because that's not where your true value lies. It's from the inside, from this nature of the spirit, whether it's your own self-love, your ability to express love, receive love. That is the source of wealth, first and foremost. Everything comes from that place and space. So this is perhaps him being awakened. First of all, I can't get past this Page of Swords energy, and I'm not really quite sure exactly who that is. This Eight of Wands, I don't know if this is, hold on, give me a second. We got the 8 to the 9. Because see, it's like the Page of Swords is over here looking at, he's looking outside of himself. Whatever he's looking at, I don't know. Whether it's the past, again, it could be those past missteps and experiences, with the wounded warrior, which makes sense. So maybe this is the King of Wands. It just isn't giving me the same person though, this Page of Swords, because this Page of Swords looks way too satisfied, looking as intently as he is. So I'm feeling like this is that outside interference, as I said, especially when the Knight, when the Five of Wands was peeking out as well. This is that outside interference that's looking upon the Nine of Wands, who is a reflection of, reflection of the King of Wands, and that said the High Priestess. This is what he's appearing to be, or maybe even what he's projecting to be. Like, this is funny. What I hear, it may not be what is seen, but I hear it and I feel it. That this Knight of Wands is presenting himself to be like, King of Wands is presenting himself to be like this wounded warrior, like, yeah, you right, I don't deserve love, I don't, this is like some energetic imbalance. And remember, I said the Page of Swords is just looking way too satisfied, like he cut the King of Wands down to size successfully, right? And maybe in some regard, he has definitely succeeded in this interference. So it could even be the Emperor or whomever this Emperor represents in this energy, because ultimately an Emperor that will operate in such a way, right, to want to cut his son down to size from experiencing life holistically is just a broken little boy anyway, when it comes down to it, right? that's what most energies that express themselves in this diffused way are, where they inflate their presence and their power in one regard, but their actions and their energies don't actually align with who they present themselves to be. Which to me, an emperor that's projecting to a son like something so irresponsible, and by way of managing his own energy and time, and just completely, being devoid of love, is not matured enough, and is not qualified to be giving advice to anyone. He hasn't matured in his own regard to be able to be the authority on anything, let alone anyone, because he hasn't mastered his own life truly. He's dissatisfied, as a matter of fact, with his results, with how his investments in life haven't yielded the greatest results. But in one regard, probably isn't willing to take responsibility for his sowing into that garden. So he rather deflected onto circumstances, that women ain't ish, and love ain't worth it, and relationships are a waste of time, and it's better to just play the field, just silly shit pretty much. Anyway, moving on. So I'm getting that this is that energy here, or whatever vibration of that he is connected to. But what's interesting is that, number one, the King of Wands has his back turned to this Emperor. So it's like he hears him, but he's not really listening, at least not now, at this point. Remember, I started this by saying that somebody is manifesting divine, oh God, this is so good, divine partnership from that Seven of Cups energy, where you feel like this is the best I can do, I can't do no better. Well, that's a projection, that illusion and delusion that we started with, that I said, I'm not taking that today. That's a projection from a source that should be a trusted one, but that just isn't trustworthy in general. So there's some type of enlightenment that perhaps has happened on account of just maybe the King of Wands' own experiences, just recognizing that when he's done it, perhaps the Emperor's way, it still isn't satisfying, So here he is, and presenting himself, projecting this image as the Knight of Wands, like, yeah, you're right. You're right. I probably don't, I probably just need to focus on me. I'm not really in a place where I deserve love, or I can really handle love. I've been hurt too many times. Like, he's given this whole like, I don't even know what to call it, because when I'm looking at the face of the Nine of Wands, and I've never seen this in this energy before, but it's like, how somebody is like crying, but then they're kind of peeking out the cracks of their eyes to see if anybody, if it's really, if they're selling it or not. That's the energy I'm getting from him. It's like he's putting on some type of facade. Maybe he feels like it's protective in some way, shape, or form, to kind of like put some distance between himself and these characters, or this character that's in competition, maybe recognizing that he's not meaning well for him. He wants to keep him in this imbalanced position mentally and emotionally and energetically, to continue to have this dominance over his potential, over his prospects ultimately. Just like, it's like a competition literally between like a father and a son. It's sick. It's sick with the Nine of Wands. It's like, it's kind of sick actually, and sad ultimately. But the Page of Swords is like him. It's either him seeing, like looking at himself on the outside looking in, knowing that in reality, this is like almost a sneaky energy, knowing that he has all intentions of actually busting a move with this Eight of Wands here. And not only is he going to do it with that High Priestess, he's going to do it without letting anybody know. It's going to be fast, it's going to be sudden. And he's moving towards what he knows he deserves now with the Ten of Pentacles. He's realizing that not only can he have love and partnership, he can have the whole of it, and by way of not just the Seven of Pentacles, but actually the Ten of Pentacles. He can have the whole the whole cup, kit and caboodle for his invested energy, and he's not willing to sell himself short on that ideal anymore. Now, why he feels the need to protect himself by way of this illusion, that Seven of Cups again, this illusion of like woundedness, or like he's vulnerable, or I don't even know what to call this as to why he's doing this. Maybe he feels there's some danger either to his dreams, or maybe he's recognizing that in the past when he's allowed himself to even be vulnerable to the impression of this person whom he probably either has or has had respect for, at least value for their place in his life. He's recognizing how that over and over again has never really benefited him. So perhaps this is his just like radical way. He is a magician, right? This is his radical way to sow a new seed for a different harvest. Like this in the Seven of Pentacles is almost like insanity, literally, with the Nine of Wands, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Maybe this is just his radical way to kind of maybe throw the ops as he's presenting himself, or they're presenting themselves, off of his scent, so that he can ultimately get some wiggle room to do what he really wants to do. It's like, yeah, I'm done. I'm over here just being sad and, business as usual, life as usual, being bland and blah, 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 blah. Knowing perhaps that people's eyes are on him. Maybe, maybe he knows that people are kind of like, or maybe he's just, as a King of Wands, you can certainly have all eyes on you without even trying. So maybe there's not even necessarily any malice there, although I'm getting a sense otherwise for him to be in a wounded warrior's position. And for an emperor to be in such intentional competition with another king, he's supposed to be the damn emperor. Why the hell are you competing with the king and your son, no doubt? You're supposed to be way, way past that. So there's some imbalance there for sure, as we've said. So maybe he knows that he needs to protect himself from surveillance or people looking from the outside in to just keep tabs on what he's doing or what he's going to do, and that's why he's putting himself. So I hope I'm not like letting the cat out the bag. But to me, it's like, what's done is done. The Ten of Pentacles is already here on the board, and it's rapid, it's fast action. The only thing that has been the determining factor has been the matter of his ambition and decision to just take action. That's the only thing that's been standing in the way from him having pretty much, all that his heart can desire, especially in terms of wealth, for sure. The Ten of Cups is more of the emotional quality of life expression, but for a man who's definitely more materially focused, which is what led him here in the first place, the Ten of Pentacles is about the same vibe. You still got partnership here, you got legacy here. Look, you got even the Emperor here sitting here, but he looking a little salty. I don't know. in this energy, he's looking a little, I don't know, he got his dogs over here to keep him company. So maybe, I don't know, maybe the Emperor got some karma coming to him for being obstructive in his son's life, where he would have been a part of this beautiful legacy that he tried to keep him out of. He's kind of on the outside looking in of those gates, I don't know. He'll be able to take, it's like, I don't know why I just heard this, but I'm gonna say it. It's like those dads that, for instance, like of an athlete, where they weren't as hands-on or as present as they should have been in their son's life, or they just didn't add great value to it. Maybe they were there, but they didn't really do much to really support or add value in a positive way. And then the son goes off and makes it to the league, to the professional league in one regard, whether it be the NBA, the NFL, what is it, the MLB, Major League, but yeah, MLB, hell, hockey, I don't freaking know, whatever the case may be, but they make it to some prominent status. Again, this is about this I said something about this already too, about investing in these material accolades, accomplishments, even prosperity and gain. And whole time, dad might be acting like he is the number one fan, more or less, if he is present at all, for that matter. But behind the scenes, he's a lot jealous, of his son's advancement. Maybe he used to be the football star in college, and he's still looking back on his, the good old days and feeling some type of way that his son actually made it to some superstar status, or is on his way to that in some regard, and may even try to sabotage him. Yeah, with this Page of Swords, I told you, I feel some energy about him needing to protect himself. This is a dad that may, if he has access to a son such as this, come get you drunk the day before a big game. You know what I mean? Like, just diabolical stuff that's not necessarily an attack, but in a covert way it kind of is, because your son being hung over for the next day of a big game is not going to add value to his performance. This is a real strange thing. You could take it as it resonates, but all that to say, it's like that same dad will be the one telling everybody in the barbershop, yeah, that's my son, number 11, that's my son. I raised that boy, and he's doing his thing, on the field or on the court or whatever. But son finally has found his wits about him and realized that perhaps maybe his finances are dwindling down, or he's not able to hold on to his fortune quite well, because maybe he's taking care of dad, or dad is spending up all his ends, or even depleting his energy whenever he comes around, and he makes some definitive choice to protect himself from that imposition of opposition ultimately. And now the dad is like, he's a part of the dynasty, a part of the legacy. Like I said, he has bragging rights. He can say, like, that's my boy, and legitimately it be so. But in actuality, he didn't really add value or contribute to this son's success holistically. And then on the other side of that, like I said, he might actually have ultimately been disconnected by way of the son's decision to just live a healthier, more fulfilling life. Like, nah, I can't. I love my dad, but I can't rock with my dad. He do too much or whatever. God forbid, because I hope, I know this story is real somewhere, somehow. Probably more real, unfortunately, than it should be. But I'm saying this because of how it's coming up in this regard, that there's some acceleration of advancement that's happening by way of the King of Wands ambition, and as an account in reward for the King of Wands ambition. This is like ethereal force, like something that is divine ordained beyond what anyone can truly interfere with. It's just natural. I don't even know what to say, like exaltation, evolution, like spirit saying it's time for a thing, and then sending down every resource in heaven available to help you to either obtain that thing, get to that destination, ascend to some level of greatness or ambition, giving you the will, the courage to do something different, definitely in line with the King of Wands. And it's all pointing toward what? This building of a dynasty and a legacy. This is something that is not just impactful to whom is within it. It makes a great impact on generations beyond those that are infected, or that have right and access to it in real time. 10 of Pentacles is more money than you can spend in a lifetime. So consider, in the example that I give, if he keeps messing around with his dad, first of all, brushing shoulders with somebody in a low vibration is indefinitely going to affect your bottom line one way or another, whether it be your actual energy or your money for sure, because someone that has this low vibrate, and this is on account to anything, not just a son and a father, a mother, a daughter, or in any exchange you want to express it. This can also be friends. It can be family, definitely so with the Ten of Pentacles here. It can be environments, consider as an athlete, or the guy that wants to keep going back to the hood and helping all the friends, all the homies, wants to bring everybody up with him, pulling everybody up by their bootstraps and so forth and so on, ultimately is depleting for one man to take on himself. Back to that Ten of Wands energy, releasing those burdens. Now it's making more and more sense. To put down, like, stop sacrificing yourself for the sake of others' exaltation. Like, you're not the supreme sacrifice anymore, even though maybe you have been the golden child, because in some regard, like I said, you can see the King of Wands potential, from the outside looking in, but it's that lower vibration of pride and ego that would want to first try to obstruct it, but then at the same time want to monopolize on it as well, want to benefit from it. So just as much as he kind of like deep down in his heart may not have wanted his son to surpass him, he also can see the value in his son surpassing him for his own material benefit, if that makes sense. So ultimately what I'm just saying here is, as you are as anyone may be building a fortune, building a dynasty, and it doesn't have to be money. It could just be whatever you're investing your time, whatever you're manifesting, ultimately. It's just a matter of really protecting it at all costs, even from the most familiar exposures, people, places, and things, because everybody that is so-called rooting for you is not really rooting for you, okay? And that was the devil card. Oh, and then he came out again in the Tower. Even in the most actual and practical sense, they might see great value. That's too many. Oh, jeez, that's too many. I'm not taking any of them. And there's the Five of Swords again. They may see great value in what you have to offer, but there's something sometimes when people are not healed. Yeah, this is him walking away. That's what happened. He finally realized that he had to, family or no family, friends or no friends, that he had to separate himself. He invested a lot of energy with the Eight of Cups, emotionally so, or will, or that's the decision that he knows he gets to make. And that's why it's kind of been concealed up until this point. Maybe he knows whatever commitment or contract is on the horizon is too precious for him to allow it to be exposed to the same old, yeah, this is depression, the same old that he's always allowed in his energy. Yeah, and that's why I'm seeing that Two of Cups. That can be money, like I said, it's contracts, it's commitments, it could be business, it could be love, it could be anything. Just putting himself, and there's the Five of Wands. Competition and chaos, conflict. I'm not taking that. But that was a Knight of Swords on the top, people feeling entitled to his fortune ultimately. And look, he's a star. Yep. He's going towards somebody that doesn't even know, or towards something. Yeah, this is that blind, this is definitely a relationship. It's at least part of that, if not holistically. Now, when I'm seeing the Hierophant, which is about matrimony, union, coming together, bringing forces together in the most high vibrational sense. A breakthrough. Yeah, he's had a breakthrough, and energetically and spiritually, knowing that he gets to, he doesn't have to, it's his choice, right? He gets to do something different to have a different result. He is the star, which is so funny, that I had that analogy, because in some way, shape, or form, he's on his divine path. He's perhaps even a standout star in his legacy. He's perhaps even breaking, with that Ten of Wands, he's breaking generational cycles and barriers, and dare I say curses, just by being committed to do what he feels called to do, even though he hasn't always had the best advice, the most favorable experiences, the best support, hasn't always had the team, the home team rooting for him, not the ones in the stands or the ones in the public, but the actual ones that are supposed to be rooting for you. He didn't always have that fanfare, but yet somehow he still rose above all of that, was brave enough, courageous enough to step away from the things that might ultimately keep him from reaching that. Now my throat is bothering me. Reaching that star status in his own life. And this is also about healing. So yes, for sure, in the regard that I was speaking of it, that he's like, I hear like he's a superstar in his own regard, because he had all the odds stacked against him, and yet he still persevered and succeeded, beyond the worst of the deck that was stacked up against him. He still was able to make the most, like literally get it out the mud. Like, see how that one pentacle he's gotten out of the ground, he was able to get it out the mud, flip that ish to something viable and sustainable that now will last him a lifetime, on account of his courage to do something different than perhaps he was encouraged to do by elders that should have been trustworthy, that should have been a source of wisdom, and by his own life experiences that have steered him in a direction otherwise. His surroundings, consider like the athlete from the hood that, was like one of a million making it out, you know what I mean? And he ain't the only one in the hood that can play hella ball. May not even be the best athlete from his city or his town, but it's his perseverance and also his commitment to the call on his life amidst all of his adversity that elevated him and exalted him. Like, his mind was on the prize with the magician card. He literally manifested this experience out of the mud, this championship, this victory from perhaps some very vile circumstances, from what I'm getting here. This Eight of Swords is giving me someone, this is the Eight of Cups, that which he's on his way to. 8-8, definitely new beginning energy. And then 8-8-8, look that up, see what that gives you. 8-8-8, I'm gonna look that up when I'm done here. We know 8-8 is new beginnings and infinity, like a continuous course of force, with the infinity sign. And the tripling down on that, that's a 21 and a 3. That number itself is like the Trinity, man, woman, child. Like this is like destiny here. And he definitely took the long way, the hard way to get there. It wasn't nothing easy about this path. Even down to the Eight of Cups here. Consider, we started with the 7, that's illusion, confusion, delusion. He was able to leave that energy behind. And the Eight of Cups is believing that in faith, there's something better. Oh my gosh, it all comes back around. I love it when it makes sense. Hope it makes sense to you. That 7 of Cups energy where I said in the beginning, like, I ain't taking that. We're not doing that. Where you are just throwing up your hands like, this is the best I could do. You're just selling yourself short. You're resolved to just contain your prospect to some, I don't even know how. There's another way that I'm trying to really convey that ideal that's not coming forth to me right now, but you just limit your possibilities with the 7 of Cups and the vibration that I've been speaking on. This is all I can do. The 8 of Cups is him releasing himself from that low vibrational mentality, quite honestly, is what it is, on account, again, of the influences and the experiences of his life, his childhood, his upbringing, his surroundings, seeing beyond that limitation, knowing that maybe I don't know what's on the horizon. I don't know if I'll make it. I don't know if I have what it takes to sustain myself when I get there, or when I have this ideal of what I see in my mind. But I know that it has to be better than what I have now. that's a great leap of faith, because the eight of cups is speaking to someone that for all intents and purposes is pretty comfortable and complacent where they are. Like, they've done okay. Like I said, Seven of Pentacles, depending on how you look at it, you've done okay. You can sustain yourself. Like I said, you do have notoriety in your hood, in your town, in your city, like Dad, you know what I mean? Like, that was perhaps the ceiling for Pops, where he was happy, he was cool being, the high school star, maybe even the college star, but for his mentality didn't really allow him to elevate beyond that limitation. Maybe his habits, his behaviors, his perspective of life, his ideal of his own worthiness didn't allow him to expand his possibilities. But this Eight of Cups individual, by way of the King of Wands, who is the magician, who has sown good seeds into good ground, who's maintained this ideal of what he's holistically worthy of and the value that he truly has to add to any place, any person, anything that he connects himself to, did so by way of having the faith to walk away from what was just mediocre, what was just sustainable, what was just good for, good enough. Let's put it that way. It was good enough where he was, but he saw that there had to be more. He aspired to more. He aspired to some exaltation, exalted expression of life. And by God, he's getting it. Let's see what's on the top, and then we out here. And that's her. It's the Queen of Cups from the Two of Cups. Oh yeah, this is relationship. It definitely is, or something that he loves a lot. If it's not a woman, it's something that he values and has an affinity for. Very much so. Look, that's what he looking at. I was wondering what he looking at. This is the sweetheart, this is the lover herself, the queen that embodies love, knows how to receive it, and is willing and able to return it. It's that reciprocal love that perhaps he just never had before. He never had any true evidence of it, even in his familial experience, let alone perhaps in his relationships, where he tried over and over again, perhaps investing his passion into people that he expected to get love out of, and it just wasn't the proper exchange. He had to eliminate this confusion, illusion, and delusion in his midst by way of what the Emperor represents, if not just a person, is, like I said, remember I said breaking generational cycles. It's an ideal about relationships. It was a foundation of which he built his possibilities on, his perspective on. When you only know a thing, that's just what you build upon. When you only know the hood and you never really had much experience outside of it, it's hard to stretch the imagination to perceive, let alone conceive anything beyond those limitations. But he did. That's the end. That's the moral of the story. That's the happy ending of all of this, because not only has he kept the perspective and possibility of love at the top of his focus, at the forefront, he never lost faith and hope in it. He was able to actually take the steps, make the decisions that would put him in alignment to be what? An attractive force is what the King of Wands is for it. Not by way of money, not making himself rich, not making himself wealthy, not even being stable, not even being a star, because we know that being a star can attract all types of energies that are not going to be for your highest good. They will drop you back down to the Seven of Pentacles if you're lucky, maybe down to that one he harvested in the first place. So that was the path that he was on, with the mentality that he had grown to have. But he evolved. He evolved in spirit and in truth. He evolved. He answered to his higher calling. And now the greatest reward is not just any old somebody, not somebody good enough to love and be loved. This is the deepest lover of all the queens. The only thing that's more expressive or, exalted than her would be the Empress, quite honestly. And remember, we also had the High Priestess. So this is like divine love that he's with the Hierophant, oh hell yeah, that he's attracted to himself. Someone that is whole and healed in the way that she loves herself and also in the way that she expresses love. That supersedes just mediocre, good for now, good for me, good enough type of a love exchange. That's really you attracting the absolute best, like really the highest value of a love interest that you can possibly manifest. But he didn't do it just on account of waving his wand, literally, because he waved his wand perhaps at a lot of women with the King of Wands. He's been around the world, and ay. But it was about his shift in mentality. He literally manifested a new way of thinking, of being, of projecting his vitality out of the mud. He should not have been able to do this, which is why he's the phenomenon, why he's the star, why he is set above the rest, because the stakes were not set up by way of his life experiences for him to attract the vibration of love, for him to, first of all, be a vibration of love that is willing to love himself enough to know when just good enough is not good enough for him, that there has to be more. So that was first. Then knowing what to eliminate from his force field that would be an obstruction to that calling in. And then knowing exactly what seeds to plant, what actions to take in order for him to harvest the fullness of his wildest dreams. Not just the pentacle, not just 7, but the whole 10. That's an ending. That's like a big happy ending. Big. So I'm loving it. This is a good reading. I don't want to say no more. Definitely some sacred union of sorts coming into play. Like I said, whether it be physically so or just being connected to your most supreme spiritual satisfaction, like that Ace of Cups vibration, that even if it's not a woman or there's no intention for it to be a woman, it's harvesting a love that is very balanced and secure and stable from the inside out, but like I said, it's a relationship and a really sweet one at that. Like it's one that is held in high honor, and that if, all things work out, ultimately it has the potential to make a great impact, as a magician does, on a massive scale, not just materially so, but spiritually so. With the Hierophant here, it has great honor and support by the heavenly realms, and ultimately is exalted to some position of influence. Consider that couple that you love to love, you know what I mean? Like some more or less the opposite of the couples that we see a lot of times in social media and in the public now, which most of it is fake and phony anyway, but this is authentic love that is not only inspiring but infectious. Like it catches on. People are going to want to have more of this, and then ultimately have this for themselves, just on account of the exposure to it on a micro scale and perhaps even on a macro scale, because you can be just as influential by way of the power of love in your community and your family, amongst your friends, in your neighborhood, in your town, in your city. Like two people that are literally on the same page in love can do so much for their surroundings, even as they do it for themselves, but they can do so much, they can impact their surroundings in such a positive way just by being the shift of vibration of love that is different from what we encounter most conventionally day to day, which is ultimately sometimes a struggle love. People that are just together, even by something as rigid as just a contract. Like you're just married or committed because out of necessity, not out of sheer desire, someone that embodies that vibration of spiritual satisfaction and devotion and commitment just on his own, mind you, even if it's not a relationship, but just on your own, being willing to be open to that type of frequency is impactful enough, obviously, which has risen this gentleman to the star status. But then you being the force to attract your partner that's on the same page as you, that maybe you both elevate and exalt each other, you go to new heights together, you expand your legacy, beyond yourselves, then your kids experience that energy signature and they get a firsthand, as opposed to what he obviously had, they get a firsthand, they're a firsthand witness to the power of true love, the force that is beyond any other force in this realm. And then they embody that signature and that vibration, and they go on to have healthy relationships, loving themselves and appreciating others. And wow, that's a dynasty for sure that is divine. All right, sign me up. Sign me up. Yes, please. It is so, and so it is already, and so shall it always be. I claim it right here, right now, for you, for me, and whomever resonates with this message. All right? Until next time, there's nothing more to say. I leave you with peace.